Let's go to Anna. Hello.
A lot have been shifting in the last month since I've seen you last time. It's like every day is something.
It's
And a
amazing
lot,
how it just keeps getting deeper, isn't it?
yes, yes. It's just like really crazy. And it's heart rate. Um, it's really like perceptions, changes in perceptions. Yeah, in perception. Um, so there was one moment when I was walking on the street and it felt like that's like I'm normally like localized here, kind of like in the body. And it was just like a moment, it felt like I vanished or I dissolved and all there was just visual. And that moment, I felt like body is going just to collapse because I was like, but then, um, but then I think same evening I realized what actually happened. It was like attention started to jump. It was moving instead of being like fully focused on the body sensations and like anchoring it attention itself into a sensation and identifying as me is here, it start to move like if I'm looking on a screen, it's like that weight heaviness moves into a screen and that feels where I am instead of being located here. Or some sounds, like appearing and attention just like latches on that, and that's what feels in the moment, that's what I am. Or it was like, my son was chatting to me, I'm standing there looking at him, and he becomes like a main focus of attention. And it was so funny because it felt like I'm looking at myself and seeing myself. But it was just like for a few days like this. And then uh, one moment it's very recently, there was like very obvious subtle shift between seen and what is seen. It was like this, and it's like kind of clicked together. Yeah, and I was just like, oh, so simple. And then I started to laugh, and then it was like crying and crying and crying, and like really body was just like releasing a lot. And I remember I was staring, just stare. So it became instead of seeing something, it was just seeing itself as a process. Not you don't see something specific, but it's just seeing. And it was like even next day, it felt like I'm seeing for first time, and it felt like very intimate. And I was just like really like a wonder of simplicity of it. Yeah, and it's just like it's like baby, like it's just staring into air, and it's just like wow. But it was like like that's first, and then kind of settled, and and then oh, before that, there was like one evening I was walking, and it felt I'm just like walking, and it felt like that what I am kind of moved outside the body, like in front. I was like, oh, like shit. And then next thing, like, like you're looking like, how can I get back into a body? And just like, what the heck am I? And when that shift happened, I realized it was just like attention just moved into a scene. That's all what had actually happened. It's not like me is moving somewhere, because that's how mind makes that interpretation of it. And so then there was like a couple days ago, there was very, very subtle shift. If it felt like it can be like outside and inside, and it felt kind of distinctions there. That's softened. And it just like blended together that outside inside. And so yesterday I noticed some, like when it felt very different, like all day yesterday and today. And I couldn't, like, it was like something what was here previously gone. And I don't know what it is. And it's, you can't, it was here, it's not here, and you can't put your finger on what it is. Like something is missing. And you can't grasp what it is. And I was walking out and man uncommon and like he looked, attention just goes into sensations. And next thing mine just ghost because it feels like empty. It's like empty shells, like nothing is here. And then like self-referential, like yeah, nothing to refer to. And later on, I was walking again, and I can see a lady oncoming. And like I've been doing recently is practice, like, is that separated? Is that separated? Is that separated? And normally attention would just go into body sensations, into that, and just, like it's really like seeing, like scanning if there are any boundaries there. But yesterday I was like unexpected. So I'm looking, is that separated? And next thought, like, separated from what? And I just like, okay. And this morning I woke up and also there've been like very subtle shifts in sound and smell and all senses, like they blending into each other even more. Like you can't even say, is it sounding or is that you seeing? And like one day I remember I put video on, I closed my eyes, and brain just like, am I seeing? Am I hearing? Am I seeing? Am I hearing? Without actually seeing anything. That still was just like, because it's so like that. So this morning I woke up and I kind of discovered new toy. Um, I was because I really like to play with this, like sound and seeing all this, like subject, object, and all that. And I was um sound, like just saying this sound. And I can see how attention just it's really just like focusing and creates a distance. And sound is coming from that source, and me is here. And it's just like, okay, hearing and attention kind of like expands. No localized, no beginning, no end, no distance, just and no one in it either. And uh, and then I've done the same with seeing. I just looked there and I just, like mirror. And I can see like how attention just instantly it like narrows, pushes kind of away, and your pushes like creates a distance and then it's like split. And I just seeing. And that attention expands again. And the same with sensations. There was some sensation in lower tummy. So it's just sensation. And it's like very narrowed, very localized. It's just there, like on the map where it is. And then you go sensing, and attention just goes, and like body sensations like really dissolves. So later on, I closed my eyes and I was just like, okay, hand. And you can really see like attention is like localizing on something and creating that body and like, that's mental image of a hand and that is there. And like, okay. And then, like body and that's creating that image. And then I was like sensing. And then you can see like attention like goes everywhere, nowhere again. And that body mental image it's like echo, like residue. And there is really like no syncness, like emptiness, like darkness. That's it. That's all what is left. So yeah, if you could maybe comment a wee bit to give feedback or just give me some direction where to go, how to investigate further.
Mm, beautiful. Yeah, I don't think you need any direction. I think what you're describing that happened in the last couple of days is probably what I would call no self. And you see, like, there's non-dual clarity. You were describing it last month, but no self is different in that you see the fundamental illusion dispelled. And when that's dispelled, what's on the other side of that is wholly indescribable. It's almost like reality just creating itself over and over and over, and it has no particular rules. Like it can create itself in so many different ways that it becomes impossible to talk about this. And I think the description you gave of like the synesthetic experience of You can't even tell what one sense is from another, from distance, from close, from far, from solid, from not solid, empty, full. Like all of these designations now don't have an anchor point. Without the self, the designations of dualistic, non-dualistic, far, near, reflected, non-reflected, they don't have an anchor point anymore. So the designations themselves are free. So now the designations are free. So is this reflective? Yes. Is it non-reflective? Yes. Is it empty? Yes. Is it full? Yes. Is it intimate? Yes. Is it completely neutral? Yes. It's just like such a amazing exploration now, right? And you're just it's just going to happen naturally. It's just going to continue to unfold naturally. So I don't think you need direction. I think it's just full trust in the unbound, really, and the unborn that you are completely steeped in all the time. We all are actually, and it will continue to deepen and clarify itself. Really.
And it's actually what you say about the neutral. It really does feel like that's like kind of impersonal is not right word, but that like neutrality, neutral feeling into it. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
like everything just is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like yeah, self-existent, just isness. Yeah,
Isness
that.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
that type of way.
Yeah. Self-appearing, self-revealing, self-dissolving.
But still,
um,
there is feels like there is some kind of self is here.
really? What is it like?
Oh, that's very good question because I've been looking at that. Like what is it? What is it? What is it? You can't find anything,
No.
but it still
Well, and
feels like there is
there can still
something.
be a thought. There can still be a thought
Yes,
that
yes,
says I this or I that.
yeah,
But it's laughable because there's nothing that believes the thought anymore. There's
yeah.
nothing that
There
even
is
reacts to it.
literally.
There's nothing that that thought refers back to anymore, correct?
It is just a thought, and you look, and
Yeah.
there is like, yeah, like yesterday. I remember I was like, in the car, and there was just like that view opened. And his body sensations kind of just, like into that scene. And oh, I'm dissolving into everything. And the next thought was like, and who is this me who is dissolving? It's just like self-talk.
Hmm. Yeah. That's right.
So that's all
Yeah.
what the self and is at the moment, just a thought.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, do you find anything else? No.
It's just body,
But is there even a body? Really?
sensations,
Yeah.
visual, appearance, and habitual believing there is a body.
Yeah. That's all. All that can stay happening. It's fine.
Okay.
But there's nothing in between. There's no gap in between those. There's nothing else happening. There's no universalizing experience happening anymore. There's nothing holding all that together.
Oh,
Right.
universalizing experience. Because there was a moment when it felt like, oh, like everything is me. Like I am like big, expansive something. Like be like instead of me being in this small body, I have
Right.
expanded into this body, big body, and everything felt like happening within me. That's also gone. That's
Yeah,
what
that's
I
right.
noticed yesterday because I was just like, oh, even that, like I'm everything is gone now.
That's right.
Even that is no longer here.
That's the subtle self sense being gone.
Oh, I was really expecting to be dying and that fear coming up and still to come. Yeah.
Nah, I don't think so.
Hmm.
You might
Good.
experience fear here and there. You might experience some sensations, but they're going to be really at the energetic level. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what's happening. It's more like, something. There've been a couple times when something like very, very strong, like it's like really like it's like you've been plugged into electric sockets,
That's right.
moves through the body. It's just like body just goes really like shakes.
Yeah, that's right. Now, if there's a little subtle sense of a self trying to hang on, that will feel like existential terror. But when you just go directly into it, it's just what it is. There's
Oh,
nothing to when there's nothing that's trying to mitigate it, and there's nothing that's taking reference to keep itself alive in reference to an intense experience, then there's just intense experience, full on.
okay.
No inside, no outside. And that's how
Yeah.
it'll be. Yeah, no problem.
And like when see like there are like other people and like trees and just everything is just like blended.
Hmm.
There's no distinction
Yeah, that's right.
between someone. Okay.
Nice.
I wasn't expecting no self to be this. I thought it
Well, how
will be
could you?
something
How
like,
could you expect it? You can only expect it from what the self thinks is going to happen.
no, I thought it will be something like mind blowing, like something like really like air shattering.
I mean, it's quite a trip, isn't it?
It is. It is. Oh, okay. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and it'll continue to clarify for sure.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because I can still see there is a lot. It doesn't feel completed. There is
Hmm.
something, yeah, I can really
Hmm.
feel it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you may have some other remnant of self that just drops, but it feels pretty much like no self to me. But again, there's even without the self structure, there can be strong resistance that can come up. There can be restless, energetic restlessness that can come up. Vasanas can come up, but you won't feel like a self trying to mitigate the experience. It'll just like that's just the experience. It's just full on, and
Mm.
everything's going to be like that, and it'll come and go, and things will come and go pretty rapidly, actually. Um, yeah.
I think like before, um, back, couple of weeks ago, there was one day something like very like from childhood came up, and it was like going on for a whole day, and it really felt like a need for connection, need for intimacy. It just, like that, it just felt so strong, and it was like a lot of like grieving, like crying. Yeah, and that was just like all day, like on and on and on. It was empty and empty and empty, and a body was just exhausted at evening time. And the very same evening, I had like very strange experience when everything kind of like um start like moving, swimming,
Hmm.
and um I start to know like everything like dissolved into like like a water reflection,
Hmm.
like shimmering like that. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything dissolved into that. And I noticed how attention is moving like a ghost Casper, like very, very quick, just moving, 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 moving. And it's like in 3 steps, this physical reality appears. Attention moves, then there is just like a stop, thought instantly appears, and it's instantly manifests as physicality, and it's instantly dissolves. And it's
that's right.
attention just moving, 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 moving. And there is nothing is there apart from a thought. Everything is a thought. And it's like appearing out of nothing, and it dissolves back into this shimmering, whatever this is.
Nice.
And my son was just, like sitting next room, and I can hear his voice, and I can see how he has been created. And I just like, oh, there is no even my son. And then you look here, but there is no even me. And like everything was just like that. It was really like crazy. And I remember like, how am I going to interact with people because there is nothing? Oh, but you can play, you can pretend he's yours.
It's all kind of play now, you know. It is definitely is there's a sense of that it's just for play, I guess, or almost like make believe in a way, but not from like a sense of being a watcher of it. There's nothing apart from anything, but it is things get much lighter, I would say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely lightness. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, but it's not like wow, everything is, bliss or something. Completely not like that.
Yeah,
But lightness.
it can't just be bliss because that would just be one way of being, and this is freedom.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. All right.
So, can I add one thing? It's hardly anything to add, but that's so beautiful. Thank you for that.
Hello,
Uh,
Robert.
Hi, how are you, Anna? Nice to meet
Good.
you. Yeah,
Shocked a wee bit.
what's that?
A wee bit shocked. I wasn't expecting this is no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I was just tuning into your wonderment and your excitement and investigations, and that energy can really take you very far. And I tried to build it into my life a lot more. So I would do like a walking meditation practice, and so I would open up to that sense of wonderment. And as I was stopping at the end of my walking path, and I would just any object, and I would just see, I would go through these insights like this and just stand there for 10, 15 minutes. And I found it sort of useful to kind of bring it into a daily practice for me. Not that you need that, but you may find later as well. There might be a tendency in that wonderment to want to find an actual ground to reality, but you're already seeing that there's no definable ground that you can conceptualize as being just emptiness or being just everythingness or just being, just this static things appearing and dissolving and everything. All that's really available to you now, and you can see all that and go deeper. But having expectations can kind of color what you end up seeing later. So the input always determines the output, and thoughts can creep back in. And that wonderment can also turn into some subtle layers of restlessness as well.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and even a little bit of agitation and liking or disliking certain non-dual experiences and trying to manage those non-dual experiences a little bit, if that makes sense to you.
Hmm.
I would just, I would just make you aware of that. That's all. But everything was beautiful. Thank you so much.
Is it like mind is still like trying to reinforce its position?
Yeah, it will start it may. It might not be your case, but I'm just saying that's something to look out for, because I think it's worth being very precise and very detailed in these types of investigations, because we can easily get lost in the play and all the
Okay,
discovery. But there are
okay,
subtle beliefs sometimes that start working themselves forward, but they'll let themselves go naturally as well. Awakening is driving the bus now. So.
okay. Thank you, Robert.
Oh, that's very great. I appreciate that, Robert. Like extremely good pointers. Um, and I like sometimes just phrase it like never underestimate the forces of delusion. That thoughts can be sneaky and they can be really
Hmm.
slippery and they can sneak in, the back door. And so
Hmm.
it's still, as he said, it will become more and more spontaneous, but just having some alertness to any kind of fixating thoughts, whether it's fixating in the relative, in the absolute, in the nothingness, in the everythingness,
Hmm.
in any definition of the way reality is actually. Um, yeah, can be helpful just
Okay,
to notice
thank
those.
you.
Yeah, very good. Okay, let's go to Debbie.
Hiya.
Hey, Debbie, haven't seen you in a little while.
No, I know. I haven't had any questions. I'm not sure what to say after all that. Yeah, I don't even know what I was going to say to you. My experience seems to be all around feeling everybody else at the moment, and seeing from that perspective, like the constructions, where they come from, the projections, how we build the defences. And there seems to be a lot of that going on, and there was and from that point of view, the delusion, the way we don't, the things that we're so completely unaware of, and that's the level on which I keep getting kind of stunned. It's like, wow. Some stuff, you just see something that I was completely unaware of. I went into a retreat that was a bit more relational, and I hadn't, or that was speaking. There was some speaking, and it felt like being uh, like 5 years old. That visceral feeling of everybody's uncomfortable, and this is the first time that I'd thought. I think like what Jennifer was saying, like, oh, why am I doing this? I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to play. It was so, and it feels like I've been in the shadow forever. So much movement was fine, but this was so young. And it was that I think you say about crawling out of your skin, about you're just wrong. Everything you say, you think you're wrong. Everything, and it wasn't just me. It was like this whole group. You could see this stuff going on here, and feel this stuff, and that's like really familiar. And I think that's something else I've heard you say. It felt like that was my childhood, and the confusion of everybody telling you things, and then you feeling the complete opposite of what they're saying.
Mm.
And I don't even know what I'm saying or why, really. That, yeah, and then that just sort of that I'd thought, and then from there feeling this or being aware then of social discomfort that I was completely unaware of.
Mm.
Like, and the amount of stuff that we're also completely unaware of. So there's been a lot of that real visceral feeling of everybody and how different it is, and how then that translates into that behavior, and how that behavior gets pushed over there, or those, it's just really and when you said to Jennifer, the stuff it's so interesting that I felt you popped up and I didn't know anything about non-duality, and it is so helpful because it's so clear and it's so practical. And you've done a lot of the women that you've had on, there's been such a pull now to all the women, because there's something they just it's such a difference really in their energy. And sometimes I think that energy is so strong and so direct, you have to do the shadow before you can get to them. Do you know what I mean? It's like I've watched them
Yes.
before and maybe pulled away a bit
Yeah. I think it
because
happens a lot, actually.
yeah,
I think people overlook a lot of times how powerful that expression is, that feminine aspect of enlightenment. It's easy to overlook it, or, and say, oh, maybe the wording is not precise or something, but actually it's fear, because you're feeling how direct the
yeah,
transmission is. Hmm.
yeah. And as you say, everything you say, everything just comes to you. So when there's a relational thing that you're avoiding, something comes to you. It just does, and it just feels like that's been steered. There's so many things that have come up from women that are on offer that I've not, and yeah. I don't even know where I'm going with that. Just gratitude.
Hmm. Did
Mm.
you have anything to add, Robert?
Yeah, that feeling that I'm wrong, I think is pretty universal.
Mm.
Everyone feels that, and it's kind of reassuring in a sense that everyone can really relate to that. We all know exactly what you're talking about. Um, there's also ways of orienting. There's lots of ways to work with that. Um, one is just through beliefs, because we sometimes cling to beliefs about what I should be doing. These shoulds can really be a big obstacle, and how things should look like, and this sort of comparing mind, and um, putting other people on a pedestal, putting ourselves underneath them, and that type of thing. I think this community is so beautiful that Angelo has built, because there's just this feels, as least hierarchical as possible and as open as possible to everyone's experience, and so affirming. I think this is a wonderful community from what I'm gathering from your energy and how you're responding to all this. And I don't know if um, when this type of thing pops up to you, or if how you feel into it, or whether you back off of it and go into thought, or whether you can go into sensation and really experience it, and what
Yeah.
happens to it at that point. Is there
When I came through the experiences of being at that retreat, that was something I was completely unaware of. So for me, it just keeps going down in layers. So things are just falling and falling, and then there's something else that you think that was completely unseen, and then you feel it, you stay with it. It's uncomfortable. This was very childlike. There was lots of grief. It was very strange. But when I came back, I didn't think reactivity could be any less, but it was. So it translates for me very much into that experience. And then there was another kind of layer. I was with family, my own children, and that I think I have pulled from, because it's very painful to feel so directly what's going on under the surface. And there was no pulling. It was beautiful. It was so clear what the dynamics were, and everything was beautiful. And there wasn't any need to pull or change. So and it does take it. I've never felt that I need to do anything, because it just the right person shows up, the right situation. It just keeps unfolding. Yeah.
Sounds like you have a beautiful practice of surrender and you know how to surrender. And I think, everything's there when you can do that. Then initially it just takes that little bit of patience
Yeah.
to work with that. But it sounds like that you know how to work with that space very well. So congratulations. I like hearing that.
It's nice
Yeah,
to meet you.
nice to meet you.
Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, beautiful description. And I'm glad Robert asked that follow-up question, because your description showed us, like, walked us all through that, what's available, even in situations where you feel so uncomfortable and the whole room feels uncomfortable, but you go through that cascade and you find something valuable right at the bottom of the well, and then you bring it back. And the way you bring it back is less reactivity, more clarity around your loved ones and everyone. So
Mm.
appreciate the sharing. Okay, let's go to um, Ashley.
Hi, Angelo. Hi, Robert.
Hey, good to
Hi,
see you.
Ashley.
Um, I don't really think I have a specific question today, but I just wanted to kind of elaborate. I've been a little bit more active on commenting lately, just because I've been feeling into the some letting go and all of that, extra letting go beyond what is already let go. And the video yesterday, I don't even know. Time doesn't even make any sense anymore. But um the video yesterday on the caution was just like, it popped up on my notifications and I'm just like, I wonder what he's gonna say about this. And then I just like, yeah, good idea. Because it's like, I don't know, for me, like you get all the disclaimers, you read, like, I read your book a long time ago. And I really like, I've opened up occasional chapters, but haven't really picked it up much since. And you get the disclaimers, you talk about all of that. You talk about that when you're on retreat too. And it makes sense when you're going to be like spending so much energy on that. And then, but yeah, you just can't really, like, I don't think you can emphasize that part of it almost enough, because what the mind thinks that it wants with awakening is not what happens.
Hmm.
Um, and it's just, I have trouble even expressing really with this, because it's like so beyond words and all of that. But it's just like, it's such a beautiful thing at the same time. Like, there's so much paradox. So, yeah, I don't know. It's really hard for me to explain kind of everything that's going on right now. And I wasn't able to attend Art of Living this year because of being in writing finals. So, like, being in school too has been a crazy experience going through all of this. It seems like sometimes even it's almost too much, like, because there's so much falling away and then there's so much going on with like the emotional aspect of the story. But it's just like, no, like everything is unfolding exactly how it should be, and or it needs to be. And that's just, I don't know, it's just beautiful.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel you. I went to medical school, I think 5 years after awakening, and I'm really glad I did it, but it was very challenging. Um, it's just challenging, but it was also very challenging knowing that I could just not do this and I could go meditate and I could just sit in this clarity and it's just so available all the time. It was really hard to drive the mind that hard for that long, but it pays off, yeah. But I know what you mean.
Yeah. Yeah, and the thing is like I get into such a flow state in the chaos of the pharmacy that it's just like I can't picture myself basically doing anything except for being in that chaos because it
Mm.
doesn't feel like it's chaos, even though it's complete chaos sometimes.
Yeah.
Like yeah, I can't picture anything like I enjoy the meditation and I enjoy, do I want to sometimes go out into the middle of the woods and do nothing? Of course. But no, like I love I just love absolutely the fact that you can be in a flow state in the chaos, I guess, is
Mm.
how I would almost like to word that.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Yeah. And I've found for me over the years, it's gotten easier and easier to be and just remain in that flow state, even when the stakes are high or there's a lot going on, or I've been working for many hours straight. It's gotten rather effortless, honestly. And it's probably just because of what you said is like, what's happening is just so clearly the only thing that could possibly be happening. There's not really conjecture as to like what else could be happening that it's just deep absorption. And strangely, there's these paradoxes of like, movement and stillness being so interpenetrated at some point. I'm not sure how different I feel when I'm in retreat and I've been meditating for 5 days or when I'm working. I mean, there's definitely some different qualities, and at the same time, there's something that's just not different at all. Yeah.
No, and I kind of have something to add on to that. So, last couple of days, as I said, I had a bit more of a falling away and I had a little bit of an energetic release. And kind of in the last day or so, I've kind of felt like I do after leaving retreat, like that kind of energetic exhaustion that can kind of, I don't know if it's a combination of just the fact that it's been absolutely crazy nuts at work and we've been short-staffed. So that exhaustion compiling on top of the exhaustion of letting go, but it just seems like it's the energetic release there has just been like so strong and like not kind of more restless sleep. Like I'm able to function, it's not a problem. And like I I am one of those people who feels like I do need a little bit more sleep than others, just because having underlying chronic medical conditions. And it's like the the energetics though are exactly like it's exhausting, but you're still able to function even though I don't really I don't really have words basically for that.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it kind of makes sense maybe, but I
I think it's
yeah.
coming across. Yeah. Robert,
All
do you have
right.
anything to add?
Oh, I resonate in terms of having a career and managing the awakening process, or at least experiencing it, or you know, how all those experiences relate. Um, yeah, I have some. I'm an attorney, and as I said, and it's very academic, so I'm building, constructions out of words and analyses and doing a lot of comparing in my mind, but at the same time there's such spaciousness available there and there's a lot more trust. I went through law school prior to awakening, and I wish I had the other experience because I think it would have helped me relax a lot more. I think there was a lot of unnecessary tension. Um, and it's just manages itself. I mean, I instantly drop in and I'm relaxed. There can be a buildup of trying to meet a deadline. There can be that sense of pressure, frontal lobe pressure to thinking, etc. But it's never excessive for me anymore. Whereas before it was so excessive, and I would have been questioning everything. Am I good enough to write this brief? If blah blah blah, and it was just an unending editing process. But now I just trust the process a lot more, and it also, I think, has improved my relationship with my colleagues and as well, because I see right through when people, or as an attorney, I mean, people have tempers and explode all the time, and it's very high strung. And so, yeah, I've been yelled at where, when I've just felt so empty. I'm like, why is this person yelling at an empty corridor? It just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It feels so clean, like nothing sticks or lands anywhere in any of the words that they're saying, and you instantly see either the misperception that's dominating their mind, or the fear, and you just feel so much compassion in your heart at the same time, like, oh, this poor person, they're like torturing themselves. So I've found it extreme. I would say it's different, but it's very compatible with being successful at a career. At times when you're doing some serious deconditioning, fortunately that hasn't happened at work where I couldn't recognize a word or anything like that. But it does happen really briefly sometimes, where someone will be talking and it'll just be, in the herd is just. But somehow people repeat themselves and you figure things out, or you can stop them and ask them for clarification. So I really haven't found it a problem, and I found it a blessing. So
Absolutely, yeah. So just to add on to that, Robert. So I had to, for those of you who don't know, I am in pharmacy technician school in Canada. One of the competencies that we have actually with this program is we have to do medical, like pharmaceutical calculations to what is called a zero tolerance for errors. So on my math final, I had to get a 90% in order to pass it. And so it was a very stressful, one of the probably the most stressful exams I've ever written, actually. And I don't know, like I can't repeat it with not going through this process, but I don't know if I would have been able to keep myself calm enough to get through that exam if it hadn't have been for what's happening with everything here. Because although I was nervous kind of right before, because there's that whole you have no control over what happens. Like you can study and practice as much as you want, but you make a dumb mistake on a question on a test that's only out of 15 marks, and it's gone. And like it's so important that you be able to kind of relax in that. And I was able to relax into the moment I got into the exam. I was, I guess, conditioned by the fact that I practiced a lot of questions and just was in the present moment writing that exam. And I ended up doing exactly what I needed to do. So that was, uh, I having severe test anxiety before all of this, before like when I've actually done a university degree already, and I have done significantly better this time around because of being able to relax. So I'm beyond thankful for all of this.
Thank you, Ashley.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Janine and Joe.
Hello.
Hi.
Wow. Oh my. So I'm the one who made acquaintance with apparently existential terror in North Carolina.
I remember.
Thank you. Oh, I'm having such a difficult time with reactivity and have been for some time. So I was working with Chris. I had been doing TRE on my own, but felt like, well, maybe a facilitator would be helpful. So we were working together, and also with Kevin Chanelek's practice of the gap. And I did that for some time, several weeks, perhaps a month. And then it was bringing up so much dark shit and scary, like suicidal potentially states that I had to back away. So now I'm doing a titrated TRE, 2 minutes on, 2 minutes relaxing. I'm doing this kind of heart rate variability, breathing kind of. So I'm trying to calm the nervous system. But where I'm at right now is so like intolerable. And I know that's a thought. And I'm just, was just telling Joseph,
Well, it's very unstable.
I'm kind of at wit's end. I was listening to your video yesterday on the one thing that you can do. And it was about, I knew it was going to be about thought. And basically, it's not identifying with the next thought. Oh God, I'm getting lost in this. Yesterday when I went to sleep only for an hour, and I was awakened by a really scary dream. And in the dream, I was trying to escape, and my mate in the dream was being hypnotized or drugged or something by and the sinister force, and I had to leave. And I was realizing that if I left, I was leaving everything behind, the license, money, all that kind of stuff. So I'm so lost. So lost. I feel like shadow work is in order, and I am seeing a trauma therapist every other week, but it's not enough. Something in me is this warrior that just I want to get through this thing. And I was actually kind of disappointed at the retreat, going through the experience. I wanted at the time, I wanted to keep going. I wanted to push through to whatever side, whatever that even means. And I felt stopped. But it is as it is. And I'm very frustrated, and I don't know what to do.
One thing I'm thinking, both Robert and I will give you more full answers, but one thing that's coming to mind is there's a modality called PSIP, and you might consider that.
Yes, actually, the therapist that I'm seeing is involved in that. So Chris had recommended Tatiana, and I did speak with Tatiana, but she's all the way across the country. And so I found somebody in my area who's actually from New York City. But I'm only interacting with her every other week. And man, I'm just like trying to hold my shit together.
Well, those PSIP, the event, or the therapy is very, very potent, and it's exactly what you just said, is like wanting to go over that edge. That's exactly where it takes you. And maybe your instinct is right on that. I mean, we couldn't really do that right in the middle of a retreat with 290 people meditating, but but that's what it's for. But it's a very intensive, specialized one-on-one process that goes over a couple hours, and that's exactly what you do, is you go over that threshold of fear, terror, and get to that place where you can like sort of reset the nervous system. And I've heard very good things. I've done it one time myself, but I haven't done enough to make conclusions about it. But I've heard and seen some very remarkable results from it. So that may really be a very good modality for you. But I also just want to say, like, some patience with this. Like you're like, I want to do shadow work. You're doing shadow work. Like it's no mistake that when you're doing all these modalities, meditating for a week at a time, having a trauma therapist, doing TRE, doing reactivity work, that brings more of it up too. Also, I mean, just so you know, like there is a finite amount of this, but some people just you have a big storage capacity for it, and or whatever trauma's in there, and it's coming through fast at this time in your life. It's okay. I mean, it is okay, but I know it can feel like quite a lot, and it can be disorienting and all of that. I understand that. But I think that PSIP may be a really good modality for you, actually. And you said your therapist actually does it?
Yes, she does.
That's
so
awesome.
I don't know how long it takes. Yeah, I'm not a very patient person when it comes to this.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, that's the other part. Like I said, like you're pushing it hard, and when you push it hard with this, a lot of stuff comes up from the shadow, and that's good. But you also have to titrate your own ability to kind of move through this, to some degree. But that PSIP is exactly what you just said you wanted to do. That brings you over that edge.
Okay.
Yeah, Robert, what do you got?
Function too.
Thank you for being so open and vulnerable. It's so important in this process. I can really feel your authenticity, and you have a lot of energy and drive. And I I just love seeing that because that's I feel very grateful for in my life for that kind of drive for awakening as well. And it does shake things up and it gets things moving very quickly and it makes things feel really rough. And so I love that you're balancing that with reactivity work with Chris as well, because I think that's so important when that stuff really comes up to try and be as surfaceless as possible and immediate to whatever experience is coming up as possible. It'll feel so intense. It feels more intense sometimes than the memory of actually having lived it when it really comes up, and it will. Break things apart. There'll be really nothing left there that can really be beaten up anymore, and it's actually a crumbling process. It can feel like something solid is really, letting go there. But there is also, I just want to add some other things. There's also a sense of maybe a aversion as well that might be unnecessary at this point to really feel that immediacy and to let that work happen and just really sort of deconstruct that sense of self back here because we're trying to protect it and manage it and go in quickly and rip the band-aid off as quickly as possible, and it really feels like especially in working in, I mean, for me aversion is just that fundamental step back from experience and that fear that both we can't handle it and that we're trying to manage it by going even faster and just rip the whole structure apart. But this is a natural process, and there's some trust there and some surrender to what's happening, and you have really good resources around you. And to do this work, I think just being open to seeing all that is really important. I mean, in my practice, I had a different orientation. I wasn't as lucky as you to be exposed to Angelo and all this crowd, but I was really doing a lot of death contemplation and things like that voluntarily. So I would go to hospitals in Thailand when I was living as a monk, and I would like look at human bodies that were being autopsied, and monks would gather around, and we would actually, look at the human body in that sense and meditate on it. And it brought up a lot of fear inside of me. So that was my way of coming right up against that fear barrier and just feeling as much as I could. And but also just energetically, just completely allowing that insight that I'm not right here. I'm not this body. I'm not I'm not suffering. That there's just this complete freedom and openness to experience whatever arises, and you have enough resources. You are enough. You can actually experience all this, and it just dissolves when it doesn't meet that self barrier anymore. When it's pushing up against it and there's that conflict there, it creates a lot of pressure. And that pressure is kind of necessary, unfortunately, at this point, but it will do its thing in its own time. And I just wanted to also reiterate what Angelo said: patience, patience, patience. It'll work itself through. Thank you.
Thank you. And Janine, one other thing I wanted to say, um, if you can get yourself to Inside Circle, they're also really good about going all the way over the edge with you and giving you a safe space to go into that extreme experience.
Do you know how
That they do it
to
all the time and they're really good at it.
do you know how to access them? I went to the website and I tried to oh God, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you did your information.
I reached out
Yeah.
a couple of times. I mean, I'm
Did you
sorry.
insidecircle.org?
Yes.
Okay, they have something. They have I guess it's called Outside Circle, or I'm not sure what it's called, but they have a Zoom meeting you can join with Rick. He does it every week. I can look it up for you. It should be on their website. I've been to it. He does it, I'm pretty sure, every single week. Um, book, no, not podcast. Attend an event. Um, free drop-in circle, virtual, Wednesdays at 6 p.m. PST. Register now. It's free. I'm pretty sure it is free.
Okay.
Um, yep. Uh, you can work if you really want to. I know you can. Find my interview with Rick. He's awesome, Rick Meisner. He's been through more than almost anyone I think I've ever met in this lifetime as far as trauma. He's come full circle and he's a facilitator. He's the one that facilitates that meeting, but you can work with him. I did an interview with him and he said in the video, he said, I will work with people, but they better be ready to work and go deep. And so I think you probably fit
All
that
right.
bill. I'm just a guess. I'm just kind of gonna take a stab there. But you can email him. It's on the video. So get a hold of Rick. You can do a one-on-one with him if you want over Zoom. But if you can get to any of their events, outside intensives, they have one in February 2025, San Francisco. No, they have one in May. They have one in October. You can go to my retreat in May. They're going to be at my retreat in May.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have like all the different facilitators at the retreat. I do the guided meditation talks, Q&A. You'll do a full day with the Inside Circle guys. I've seen some pretty profound transformations with those guys in one day with people. Like they like physically and visibly look different after they go through that.
Wow. Is there still room in that May retreat?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. I'm on it.
Right on. So there you go.
Thank you.
Bunch of resources, but do
Thank
be
you.
patient.
I'll try.
Go easy on yourself. You can only take these human bodies can only take so much at a time. That's just how it goes, you know? Okay.
Okay.
All right. Much love to you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for being such good support for her. I can tell you're,
Oh,
know.
yeah. It's very interesting because I had a Kundalini experience many years ago, and for some strange reason I'm doing it very slowly, and her intensity is very very strong. So I want to make sure that I'm supportive, but I'm not ready to go as deep as her, and I'm just where I'm at, and but I love being in the supportive group, and I love listening to everybody, and we have very similar spiritual, our Zen, that kind of thing. So
Beautiful. Yeah, and everybody's process looks different, truly. I mean, I didn't go through what she's going through. Like it's just different for everyone. Everyone has a different karmic, background. Everyone has a different trauma. Everyone has a different personality. It's just different. So, it looks how it needs to look for each individual. Okay. All right.
appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much for your vulnerability as well and just doing all this work. It's full on. You're doing it full
Oh
on.
yeah.
Awesome. You're not holding back, I can tell.
No.
Okay. See you guys. Let's see here. Um, I don't know if it says ET phone. Is it ET like phone home? Probably not.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, those are my initials, ET.
Okay.
Yeah. Hi. I'm driving, so I hope you can hear me okay. Or my
Sure.
partner's driving.
Yep.
So I introduced myself at the retreat to you, and I came up against like a lot of fear with that. And then just we're driving back from a family trip, and once again, sort of came up against fear. Actually, I'm feeling it right now. I guess it's like anxiety. And I don't really know if I have a question at this point because I've talked to Tatiana and I sort of feel drawn to Inside Circle. But in those situations where I feel like it's not safe to like emote that fear because it feels like the what's been coming up is just like the body is just like really vibrating a lot. And in some of those like triggering situations, um, it feels like I have to hide that. So I'm not really sure if I have a question at this point. I guess, do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, I'll have Robert start if he wants to, and you froze a little bit, so hopefully you can hear our answer. But if not, you'll hear it on the recording.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty universal. I think for me, at least in my experience in working with people, I think most people go through some type of fear experience. But your question was mostly focused, I think, on sharing it with other people and feeling of safety of sharing it. Is that what more you're looking for, or are you looking more for how to relax with it or use it as a pointer to
Yeah.
awakening? Uh,
Yeah. So when I'm by myself, I feel pretty safe to be like authentic. But in the presence of people, generally there's like a sense of having to be somebody. So I think that's
mhm.
more what my question relates to. Does that clarify?
Yeah, yeah, that helps a lot. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes when we are feeling intense emotions, I don't know what I don't know if there's really a need to share this type of thing with everyone, but certainly it's good to have a friend or two that you can trust, especially one who's been through this process that you can share with. If it is getting in the way of, if you think people are actually in tune with your fear and you need to sort of disclose it and be authentic to them, that might be a sign that they're a good friend, and you could certainly, especially if they are someone who's interested and would listen to you. There's nothing wrong with trying an attempt. But if it doesn't work out, I wouldn't push it on my friends. They might end up just confusing you around the whole thing and pulling you away from your authenticity. You might try and rationalize the whole fear thing, or push it aside in some way. Whereas I think it's really an experience that it can be validated rather than shamed. There's no reason to feel any shame, and that often happens with intense emotions. We feel ashamed that we're having them, especially when we're in public. But you can try and spend maybe more time with the type of people that would understand, at least energetically, what you're going through. Um, is this been ongoing since the retreat as well, or has it calmed down a little bit, or how?
Yeah. So it specifically has, well, it came up when I talked to Angela, which on the drive home I sort of realized I have like a there's like a authority projection going on, which was interesting. Like somehow fear means respect. So that was fascinating. But other than that, it's been pretty relaxed, except we just went up and visited uh family who seemed to like get off on reactivity a little bit. So that's when it came up. Uh, but other than that, it's I don't know. I guess I just have a bit of social anxiety in general. Um, but yeah, yeah,
So it's a fear that comes up. It arises in a social context. It doesn't arise in meditation or when you're quiet or on your own. Is that what I just understood there? It's more of
yeah,
a, okay.
yeah, yeah. So it's different. So I've run into the fear of going like insane before in meditation. But this is specifically, um, I think like a fear of rejection is what it actually is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Um, yeah, those, yeah, existential fear for me was something else. It wasn't, there was a thought behind it as well, but social fear, definitely there's these types of triggers. Sometimes there are times when we just need to step away from some of these areas to try and work with those fears, and especially from the point of view of beliefs.
Hmm.
Um, that you're need to put on an appearance appearance of being strong or put on some type of, people need to have a certain view. The desire for acceptance and love is really strong, and it can take on this type of appearance. It can actually look like fear and sometimes. But I would really question that because eh, it can lead to behaviors and a lot of mental disquiet and a lot of thinking. It can actually be generated from thought, and it can produce more thought, especially when it comes from a belief about how you should be in the world. But I don't know if you write or journal, or if you can talk that through with someone as thoroughly as possible to try and get at the root and see maybe what assumptions you have there, or just experiment with being vulnerable and just telling someone that you trust that, and just being okay with it, just validating it as it is, as an experience. Is there anything in the sensation of fear that um, where you kind of feel like you can't go further, that you don't want to feel any more deeply that fear? Is there some area in the body that you can really touch into, a contraction? Um, you know, is there any way that you
Yeah.
can, is there an identity lurking there that you can?
Uh, yeah. In the heart, it's most prominent in the heart space. But like when it gets really reactive, it's it's like the whole body in it. And like it was yesterday in the conversation, it got to a point where it's like my body wanted to like just get rid of it all by doing something, but I was in a conversation and it just sort of felt like I was immobilized, like not really able to uh, listen anymore.
Mm.
Um, and but then like I already have like a movement practice, and sort of found a way to like release some of that just subtly while I was in the conversation. Um, and then yeah, I have like I'm starting to develop like more safer outlets like communication. I do have a journaling practice, so yeah. Mhm.
Yes, it's just stuffing it down can, yeah, finding excusing yourself, maybe finding a way to, go, um, work with it, when it's live, rather than trying to work with it several hours later when you're suddenly free from, that. I would try and strike while it's hot and try and really,
Yeah.
expose everything, because everything's always exposed. I mean, everything's touched everywhere, including fear. It's just that fear has this overlay that doesn't want to be touched. It's the thing that we want to bounce off of, and we don't want to go into, because we have a fundamental belief that we want to be protected and safe, and we have to actually go into a sense of trusting that feeling of lack of safety to really go into it and see through, just how porous fear really is, and how thought generated it really is, based on all this system of beliefs and perceptions, about who we are, in the world, and who other people are. Um, I had one other thought and I lost it. Maybe, Angelo, do you have anything?
I think you were pretty thorough, actually. I think Robert's given you a lot of areas to look in and to explore. And I would really look at each one of these areas, including like the relational work around somebody that you trust and feel vulnerable with, to really just learn to, if you want to take that up, learn to just speak from the heart and speak from immediate experience and not filter anything. And that may help you really see what is underneath all of this, like what other beliefs are lurking there. But that's also something you can do on your own. And writing does help sometimes, just writing out the beliefs. What do I believe about this? Right? What is the fear? And just notice you may have that little voice that just says too much. Like, oh, this is too much. Like there's a fear that this is too much. I can't handle it. Write it out. See what's underneath that. Just keep exploring this take it up as a practice, take it up as something that you're interested in, even if it's uncomfortable, even if the fear seems to kind of get stirred up a little bit when you're looking around in it. But become genuinely curious because it is here to show you something. And what I find is all of us have these different areas that are just a little more tricky than maybe other people have or something, and we can look at that and go, why do I have so much of the fear? Why do I have so much of the disorientation? Why do I have so much kundalini? But there's always something in it that can really be a gift to us if we're willing to go directly through it and really explore what's here to be um, discovered, what's here to be released, what are my beliefs here. So really just take it up as a practice, take it up as the path that is set out before you by the experience itself. And I think it's going to show you something really valuable, and it may take some time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And you're already doing it by just getting on here and talking about it. I mean, you're not the only person in the world that feels this stuff, right? I mean, we all go through all kinds of strange fears as we go through this. Some of them are familiar, some are unfamiliar, some are nameable, some are totally unnameable. And so you're doing the work for everybody by just even talking about it.
Thank you.
Right on. You're welcome. All right, everyone. We've come to the end of our time. I'm sorry I didn't get to everyone. I usually do, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. I appreciate everyone's support as always. I will upload this in the next few days to a week or so. It'd probably be in two parts, just to help the algorithm. Sometimes if I put a 2-hour video followed by other videos the next day and the day before that are very short, the algorithm seems to get confused. So spreading it out helps a little bit. So I'll probably have it in two chunks, but appreciate everybody. And thanks again, Robert.
Thank
Do you
you.
want to, do you have any sort of platform or anything you want to have me put here under the video so people can contact you or anything?
Sure, I have a YouTube channel. I upload, you know, I give day-long retreats. I teach at a Theravadan Buddhist center in Washington, D.C. I've decided to put together a website, but I've been lazy the past week or two and haven't gotten around to it. So, but
No worries.
something simple will be thrown together. But
Perfect. We'll get your links under the video and people can reach out and say hi. And thanks again for your insight and your heart. I appreciate it.
oh, thank you. I loved it. It's great.
Okay, everyone.
All right. Take
All
care.
right, y'all. Happy New Year in advance.
Happy New
And
Year. Yeah.
yeah,
Surprised someone didn't ask about New Year's resolutions or something like that.
right?
Yeah.
Okay. Much love to you all. Thank you
Yeah.
again.
You too. Bye.
See ya.